Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the ETVT podcast, where you're free to build your perception from an infinite world of possibilities. I'm your host, Elijah Vargas. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ETVT podcast, where we're all about perception. This one is going to be a real quick one. I am actually recording in the middle of the day, if you can't tell, which I typically don't do. It's going to be a busy day. I already have something I have to get to in an hour, but this one I felt was important because it hit me. It is graduation week. And when you are an adult after a few years, you've already graduated, especially after you graduated college, you kind of start to forget about that timeline unless particularly you're a parent or a teacher. And I want to make an episode for the graduates. So actually, that's what we'll call this one. We'll call this one For the Graduates. And that's it. Because obviously, if you refer back to my past work, I am all about perception and leadership and open-mindedness and creativity and all those great things, all those things that aren't necessarily taught or emphasized in the classroom. And actually in many places it is becoming less emphasized, where we want to make things like education and a student's ability more standardized in many ways and more metrics based. So what I'm going to do for the graduates, so we're gonna have a little powwow here, because I'm going to tell you things that I wish was said more, not just to me, because in many ways I was very fortunate. I have an episode with my AP history teacher, Miss McKinney, who was one of the few instructors I had. I have a handful of instructors that I will talk about endlessly. I also had one with Miss McDowell, who was my fifth grade teacher. I had role models that were teachers that weren't just teachers when I was in school. I had role models that were so passionate about what they do that they actually cared about the truth and the educational development of the youth. I say the truth because in general education, it's becoming harder and harder to find those types of instructors, professors, or teachers or coaches who honestly aren't there for just a paycheck, or aren't there because that is the most comfortable career that they can get into at the time. And for the graduates, I want you to understand this. Hear me and hear me well. Really listen. You are about to go into a world with endless possibilities. Endless. The absolutely endless. Keep that in mind. This is important. Everything that you have been taught for the last 18, let's say you roughly started when you were 4, 13, 14 years, does not even scratch the surface of what you're going to experience in the real world. No matter how much you prepared, no matter how good your grades were, no matter how much your parents have prepared for you, will they make some things easier? Absolutely. But you are about to be another one of the billions of humans who is going to have to find a way on your own. When I say a way, I mean you're going to have to figure out what life really is to you. What does adventure mean to you? What does intelligence mean to you? What does nice or mean or good or evil or morality? What does all of these things mean to you? Because these I feel like aren't talked about enough. Like when I was in high school, we had career counselors, and the career counselor's job was to get us into college. When I got out, well, not got out, but graduated, and I went to community college, I didn't know about personal financing. I didn't know about what it took to invest. I didn't know anything about investing. I didn't know about buying homes. I didn't know about buying cars. I didn't know about credit scores or interest or any of that. And I'm still learning. I mean, these things are constantly evolving with the economy. So the point is, if you had the normal experience, right now you are thinking that college is the answer to everything. And you may also be thinking that the type of institute that you go to or your GPA is going to depict how well your future is. And I'm here to tell you that that is not true. That is actually so far from the truth. Sometimes I find myself getting real frustrated with how delusional, manipulative the education system has gotten to a point to where I feel like it's more like a business with marketing and schemes legally than it is an actual than it serves its actual purpose. You guys are coming into a world that is unlike any other society that we have ever had. Let this sink in. We are the first generation to grow up with iPhones and access to the internet. At least the version of the internet that we get through our web browsers, because we won't talk about the actual internet, which is the deep web. When you look at life as a whole picture, you're going to have to learn how to survive. You're going to have to learn how to thrive. You're going to have to learn how to build. You're going to have to learn how to create. There is so much more to life than just what grades did you get when you were 4 to 19, 18, 19. What was your GPA in college? What degree do you have? And I say this because whether people want to admit it or not, nobody graduates and says, I became successful because of everything I did in high school. I became successful because of what I was taught in high school or even college. There's this big, people like to glorify people like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg who dropped out of Ivy League institutions to build their things. But one thing that people have to recognize is that they worked hard to get to that level of intelligence that they did. There were a lot of things. They didn't just sit down and have an idea and then build something great. These are things that they were working at for years. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Mark Zuckerberg had a private tutor for algorithms and computational stuff. But the point is, for the people, for the children that aren't a honor roll or full ride scholarship or part-time scholarship. If you're graduating right now and you don't know what the heck you want to do with your life, I applaud you. And I say keep that open-mindedness. Don't be lazy. Don't be a coward. In my terms, don't be pathetic. Keep that open-mindedness. Every day when you wake up, explore new things, try new jobs, try new hobbies. Fail, 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 fail. Failing is an amazing thing. And this is again one of the biggest things I hate about the educational institution is think about it. And I hope this blows your mind because you may have never thought about it this way. Although I will say your generation has so much open-minded power because of the technology. It kind of drives y'all crazy. Mine too, but think about this. Just bear with me. Up until now in your life, and maybe when you go to college too, because it's all just a controlled system, very filtered. What's going to be glorified and what has been glorified is the idea of perfection. What grade can you get? How many hundreds or A's can you get? That's not real life, you guys. That is honestly the opposite of life because what you're going to find happens. And let me be very clear for every single one of you, no matter what position you're going to realize that you didn't know yourself. You didn't know who you truly were. And your friends didn't know who they truly were. You're going to find a lot of athletes who become overweight, or a lot of honor roll students who drop out of college, a lot of you're going to find that a lot of the kids who weren't supposed to have any potential are the ones getting, their bachelor's and masters, or I don't think I have anybody with a PhD yet, but PhD candidates and, going out there and creating things. You're going to find that the kids who grew more comfortable with failing have this mindset that prepares them more to thrive in the real world. Not to say, now I'm going to have to give both sides credit here. because for the children that figured it out sooner and their perfection was a result of their hard work in high school. So if you got A honor roll and you busted your ass to get there, you got A honor roll or AB honor roll because you worked really hard. You already have a step ahead of your peers. But you also got to understand that that is not what's going to determine your success. It's the person you have become in that process that's going to determine your success. Because no matter what grades you get or how smart you think you are in the class, when you sit there in your first job interview for a major corporation, they're not going to care about any of that. They want to know, are you the type of person that can work efficiently, communicate, actually dedicated to being there, and has the skills that you need to figure out complex issues and create really good solutions. That's really what it boils down to. Those are just a few of the foundations of human qualities that will make you successful, whether it's in the work field or as an entrepreneur, whatever you want to do. And did you just realize that those are not get your best grades? All this to say, a lot of what you think matters now is not going to matter in the future. And you guys need to be prepared for that. And if it scares you, that's awesome. But also remember that your brain reacts the same way to fear as it does on excitement and adventure. It's okay to be scared. We all are, we all were, but it's also very awesome because that means that you have plenty of stuff to do, plenty of adventures to go out there and explore. And it's great. And living in the US of A, I will say, despite all of our downfalls, the fact that you have the choice to try so many things is something that you should absolutely take full advantage of. All right, so you go into debt or you spend a little time not accumulating a savings because you want to invest in equipment to try a new hobby. Go for it because I guarantee you that what you build and what you figure out about yourself in that process is priceless compared to the $500,000 that you spent. And I would honestly say that for a lot of people, we talk a lot about how a majority of the people go into debt and stay there for years of their life. But for a lot of people, that was crucial for them. Like if you think about all of the doctors who are creating their own practices or lawyers who are creating their own firms, it's worth it for them. Again, it boils down to the type of person that you are. And these are things that just an average teacher or an average counselor, career coach, whoever your local high school, whatever hired, they can't teach you that. A majority of them don't know. That's why I say I was blessed to have the individuals that I had because I had instructors that did know. I had coaches that did know. Plenty of them that didn't. But because I had those people that cared so much about me as a person, I saw the possibilities. And a majority of my high school was not getting the best, whatever. It was learning as much about myself as possible. And that is why I was able to succeed in the military. That is why I was able to get a good job and be one of the first to get that Security Plus certificate that everyone was asking me about. That is also why I was able to get my bachelor's in computer science as someone who started off with the lowest scores. I did not understand algorithms or patterns. I was the type of kid that will come to school early for tutor, go in lunch for tutoring, and let me put it this way. The first time I took a literature class, because I was so bad at everything, it took a lot for me to figure this out. And this is my junior year. I'm sorry, my sophomore year. I read my first paper, my first real paper, because I went from regular English class. I convinced the counselor to sign off and let me go into AP because I really wanted to learn. I read my first paper, and the instructor, Miss Britton, bless her heart, she goes in front of everybody, I don't understand what you just said. Because what I was doing was when I was hearing people, I was writing long words that flowed so good on paper, but it didn't mean that the meaning of them corresponded with each other. And it clicked. I was bullied a lot. Obviously, I was the idiot of the class. Nobody wanted to work with me. But I will never forget that last paper. Miss Britton wrote about how proud she was of how far I came in such a little bit of time. But she also would sit down for that hour and a half at lunch, not to tell me about how to do the assignment, but to teach me how I can figure out on my own how to do the assignment. Same thing with Miss McDowell. Same thing with with Miss, oh, here we go. Same thing with Miss Chapman, my pre-AP calculus teacher. Thank you so much. Same thing with my registrar, Miss Miss Meininger. Same thing with uh, Miss Heidi for dance. I mean, as you can see, Miss McKinney for AP history. She was on my podcast as well. But as you can see, I had those instructors where I needed them for a particular set of skills that allowed me to realize what actually matters in a person's long-term success. Because of that, when I deployed overseas was when I actually started my education. Because my first thought when I went in to get my uh originally I wanted an associate's. I didn't know anything about grants or loans, and I took my at my community college, I took that entry level class, and immediately I realized, because this is how I was trained to think, thanks to my instructors. Immediately I realized there were things that I need to figure out first before I dive into this institution. What is a grant? What is a loan? What is a savings? What is an interest rate? And you have to ask these questions, because what happens is, at the end of the day, a lot of students, grown adults that are in their 30s or 40s, and young kids that just graduated, when that bell rings, whether they understand it or not, they leave. They want to go get lunch. They want to hang out with their friends. They want to smoke their cigars, whatever. They want to play their video games. Ask those questions. That's part of your adventure. That's part of, what's going to make you who you are, which leads me to my next thing, is soft skills. Ladies and gentlemen, whether you're a boy or girl, whether you believe in having your own pronouns, whatever you want, I don't care who you are, what you clarify or not clarify, what you classify, never mind. I don't care. The point is this: you as a human being are obligated both for your success and to have a positive impact in your community, which, let's be honest, that would also bring this. You're obligated to having soft skills. All right. Nobody cares if you're addicted to games. Nobody cares if you're addicted to whatever you do behind closed doors. That's you. Whatever you have to do to keep yourself mentally sane, that's you. But when you go out into that world, you better be a damn good communicator. You better be a damn good negotiator. You better be a damn good worker. You better be organized. Soft skills. We're losing that. And what's happening is a lot of people who are quite intelligent, kids are graduating with 2 masters, can't get a help desk job. They have no skills in literature. They can't write their resume. Correction, they can write an English paper, but writing is subjective at the end of the day. And we are bound to rules of literature that are written in pencil, can change at any minute. They change throughout every society, every group. There's thousands of different ways to write right now, right? That's the beauty of it, but school doesn't teach you that. They can't write a resume. They get nervous during interviews. They don't know how to sell themselves. They don't know how to explain their craft. Soft skills, soft skills, soft skills. Gentlemen, you must be a gentleman. You must have a belief to stand on. You have to stand on business. And that was one of the hardest things for me to figure out, because I was gullible. I thought that the world was ready to give me everything that I needed. I had no idea that, in a way, I have to be a mix of selfish, and I had to learn how to stand up for myself before I can build something that would selflessly allow me to give to the community. Because especially when you first start as a young adult, this world is going to have it out for you. A lot of kids are lucky. A lot of kids' parents are like, when you graduate, you'll just work with me. I know kids whose parents are involved in the state politics, who have all the butt kissers in the local school boards. Like, that's cool and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But you will learn about a curse for people who never really do figure that out. Now, there is a very special breed where kids are both fortunate but also extremely hardworking. Uh, Batman is an example of what I'm trying to say, but you'll see a lot of people like that. But for my new grads, for every single one of you, No matter what your status is, whether you had the ribbons or not, soft skills, woman. And I'm not going to say if anybody says, oh, he's trying to tell, well, he's not a woman, whatever. Woman. Right? You also have an obligation to stand on your business. We all do. You, as a lady, got to figure out where you stand morally. One of the biggest mistakes I've seen with women, especially young, beautiful women, is when they realize the power that they have just in their looks alone, they don't know how to control it. And if you listen to my last podcast about art, there's this phenomenon where humans, once they get used to something, it does grow quite boring. TikTok in relationship terms will describe it as the ick. And if you see what's going on with a lot of these celebrities now, it was either Sue or I don't remember exactly who it was, but there's an interview, and if any of you have heard it, go ahead and let me know. But there was an interview where someone was explaining how, oh, I think it was Candace Owens. What happens is, you know, a lot of these women will get recognized for their beauty, and then that celebrity or that person, whoever, who only loved them for their beauty, will start to rotate. Because what happens is they're going to find somebody else after a year or a few months or even a couple weeks. They find somebody else whose beauty they're attracted to, and the cycle endlessly repeats. So you are obligated to stand on your business as a woman, to stand up for yourself, to realize when people recognize you for what you're really worth or just simply what you have. And when a lot of women realize that they can, in the short term, make men act certain ways just off their looks, they hurt themselves. Because what happens is they want to indulge and take advantage of that as much as possible, where it gets to the point to where next thing you're the person that's just thrown around. Don't let that happen to yourselves. And I truly hate seeing that because a lot of people don't understand and people want to throw blame and say that it's one person or the other. But a lot of people, this is why I hate those podcasts where they're like woman this or men that. It's really more just a humanistic thing. Like we're playing with human nature and sides of it that we don't understand, which goes back to one of the things I said importantly is the most important thing for your life is what you figure out about yourself, how you live your adventure. You know, you spent the last decade and a half learning about school and policies and rules and grades and the Pythagorean theorem and all of the different versions and algebra 1 and 2 and pre-cal and maybe calculus for some of you guys, the basic fundamentals of programming. You've learned all that. Now it's time for you to grow as an individual. And that is the part that so many of us miss because we don't have institutions or people that are telling us these things. So my new grads, men and women, if you want to be successful, get your head out of this game. Explore. Do things that are challenging. Do things that make you happy. Find out what discipline is to you. Fail. I'm going to repeat that endlessly. Fail, fail, fail. Have a great time. Grow. If college isn't for you and you have the opportunity to give it a shot, give it a shot. And if it's still not for you, fine. I have buddies who have worked under me when I was in my configuration management position. Woke up one week and they have a six-figure job opportunity in cybersecurity. No degree, same certificate as me. They just figured out what they have to do to find the right people, develop the right skills. You'd actually be surprised how easy it is, ladies and gentlemen. When you have the basic fundamental understandings, you realize that the industry is really not that difficult. It's not. The hardest part truly is getting in because that is the biggest learning curve for most people. Because in order to get in, it's almost kind of like a rite of passage, right? For a lot of people, that's getting that 4, 8, 12-year degree. For some people, that's joining the military and getting some experience. For some people, it takes years. For some people, they have it ready for them by the time they walk out the door. Again, it's part of life having these endless opportunities. And these are things that you aren't necessarily trained to pay attention to. But you will see. And as everybody goes through this, you're going to see sides to people that you didn't even know existed. Within a few years, you're not even going to recognize most of the people that you have graduated with. All that, it's a speck of dust. And then you start to realize how fast life really moves. And for some people, when that reality hits them, it almost gives a sense of anxiety because they think, what have I been doing? Or I need to do more. We start to realize once we hit 23, 24, how quick it is. And we're like, I think we get this thing where we start to have a big fear of dying without experiencing everything because we look at how much time has already gone by. And in that moment, I think most of us still want to explore more. We want to get a better job, have more money, do more adventure, have kids, whatever our end goal is. Nope, time to go. But I'm going to conclude it with this. Congratulations, for starters. I hope that this episode, for my new grads who listen, or maybe adults who just need a fresh reminder, I hope this new episode has opened your mind. I hope this new episode has made you excited about graduating, excited about what life has to offer. I hope that for a lot of you, it made you realize that you're not alone if you're already starting to feel these ways. I hope that it made you more comfortable with understanding the importance of being just who you are. Get out of all that nonsense that they use to define you in school. Define yourself. I'm very proud of you guys. 2024 grads, you got it. Let's be the exception in this generation and let's show everybody that all of these stereotypes that they like to live off of are far from the truth. Let's build something great. Let's make a future that we look forward to. And let's take advantage of all the endless opportunities and possibilities. Ladies and gentlemen, ETVT out.